Hello, I'm Michelle Warner and I am the interim Novus program manager. This is a short guide on how to get started with LinkedIn and some tips on how to use it more effectively if you are already a LinkedIn user. There are a lot of sections on a LinkedIn profile that could be used and could be used really effectively. But as an absolute minimum, you should include all of these sections and ensure they're completed to their best and to their fullest in order to sell yourself on the platform. So include a photo. Make sure you create a headline, write yourself a summary, include all your work experience, including any volunteer experience that is relevant, list all your skills, and make sure your education is noted. Your first step is to include a photo. Now, I know this goes against the advice we've given you with CVs, where we've specified not to include a photo, but LinkedIn is a business version of social media. So adding a photo just adds to the authenticity of your profile and makes you seem more open. On all social media platforms like Instagram and Facebook, as soon as you see a profile with no photo, you're immediately suspicious of what that person's hiding. So adding a photo on LinkedIn just adds to the credibility of your profile. The photo you use needs to present you as you would present if you turned up to work. So if you wouldn't turn up to work in a hoodie with headphones on, a drink in your hand, and your best friend hanging off your shoulder, then make sure your profile picture doesn't show that either. You need to be on your own with nothing and no one else in shot that may distract from you. It needs to be a clear head and shoulders shot because anything more than head and shoulders will be too small for people to see you clearly. And make sure your background is plain or unimposing. You're the star of this show, and it needs to be clear that you are the one that is important. If, for example, you have in the background a pub garden and it's really obvious you're in a pub garden, then you wouldn't be too impressed if you turned up to a job interview and they said, oh, we're just going to go to the pub next door to do this interview. And it's the same thing with your LinkedIn. Make sure it's professional and that whatever's in your background is not distracting from the picture of you and is not unprofessional. If there's anything in the background that is a little bit too busy and it can't be blurred to make it less obvious, then take your photo somewhere else. The photo needs to be a good quality that shows you clearly without you being blurred or pixelated. So if you haven't got a good quality camera or wherever you are is causing any kind of blurring or any kind of image distortion, then wait until you're somewhere else or get a better camera. You could get a friend to help you with it, or there's even companies online that will help you create profile pictures now. The most important thing to do is smile. If you look happy, confident, and relaxed on your profile picture, then people are going to warm to you. Also, there's most employers will look at your LinkedIn profile before you go for an interview. So if on the day you turn up a little bit nervous and they've already seen you at your smiley, confident best, then the pressure is off on the day of that interview. So creating a headline is quite an important part of your LinkedIn profile as it needs to get the attention of the employers and contacts, but also it needs to explain who you are, what you do, and what you have done. Also, it's useful to be able to say what you want to be. You can see here in my examples on the right-hand side there, we've got a poor example at the top and then a better example at the bottom. So in the example on the top, you can see it just says my job title, which at the time was Transport Network Solution Manager. Now, a lot of people read that and say, I have no idea what that means or what that person does. Whereas the bottom one is an example from when I was looking for work and I needed to make it explicitly clear exactly what I've put. So I put skills and experience logistician with high standards and quality, just doing a little bit of self-promotion there. And then I've included some skills that an employer might be looking for. So I've put process optimization, problem solving, project implementation, continuous improvement, operational support, and change management. That's so that if anybody's searching for those qualities rather than a specific job title, then my profile should show up to them. So it just makes your profile a lot more searchable if you include as much as you can in your headline on what you actually do rather than a fancy job title that might not mean anything to anyone. You'll see yourself if you look at Google or if you look through LinkedIn yourself, there are some absolutely brilliant examples out there. And I'm not saying mine is brilliant, but there are some brilliant examples out there. So just have a little search and see the ones that you think are good, and more importantly, the ones that you think are not so good, so that you can replicate the good and avoid the bad. Next up, we need to write a summary, and this can be a tricky one to get right, but it is certainly very doable. So, rather like the headline, it needs to show off what you can do, but also it needs to build on things more than the headline does. So, you need to tell your story that little bit and make sure that you say what you're passionate about and what goals you may have. So, if you're particularly interested in, say, transport, say that you have a passion for transport. If your goal is to help integrate new technology because you've got a little bit of an interest in IT, then say that you've got an interest in integrating technological efficiency into manual transport systems. But it's how you say it that's important. So you want to make sure you're using business vocabulary and keywords. So you could say, I like transport and I'm interested in IT, so I want to work implementing technology into manual systems. That's fine, but it doesn't actually tell anybody you know what you're talking about. So maybe say something like, I'm a forward thinking supply chain management student or graduate with a passion for technology. My goal is to secure a role that allows me to improve operational efficiency through the use of technological advancements to best serve my company and my customers in achieving their potential. Straight away, you've used business language and you've told them what value you will add if you join that company. So you've just sold yourself a little bit. Now, this is where we come on to my top tips. So you can write in first person on your LinkedIn. I know with your CV, we say not to, but with LinkedIn, you are selling yourself. It's your advert. So feel free to use first person when you're talking about yourself on LinkedIn. And like with my previous example, don't forget to use business vocabulary or any keywords relevant to your industry while you're trying to sell yourself. So think about it a little bit like Nike or Adidas. If they just said, we are Nike or Adidas and we sell trainers, they'll make you run fast. You'd not really be impressed with that. But the language that they use makes you know that they know what they're doing. So they say, our specially engineered trainers provide the highest quality of comfort and improve athletic performance and ability. So straight away, you know that they've looked into what they're doing. They've then designed the trainers to match what it is that you need. And they're giving you the comfort that you want, as well as making sure that you are performing at your best. And that's a little bit like what you need to do with your LinkedIn summary. You need to say to people, this is what I'm good at, this is what I am interested in, this is what I want to do, and this is how I am going to add value to your business. Then end it with a bit of a call to action. So if they've read your summary and then you get towards the end and say, I would love the opportunity to discuss this with you further, please feel free to email me or call me. One of those sorts of things. Or if you feel I'd be a good fit for your business, please feel free to discuss any opportunities with me. Anything like that that gets people to jump into action and message you, include it. But the important thing is to make sure you have your contact details available on that summary. It's no good saying to somebody, feel free to email me to discuss this further, and then your email address being hidden so nobody can get to you. If you do a call to action, people are more likely to stop what they're doing and email you. If you don't put the call to action, they might read it, go off and do something else, and then go, oh, who was that really good student that I wanted to have a look at? And they've lost your profile. Whereas if they've got your email address there and then in front of them, or your phone number there and then in front of them, they are more likely to pick up the phone or compose an email and give you a quick message. Work experience, like with your CV, should be in reverse chronological order, but also you should include some bullet points of what you did and what skills you've developed. If you've had a particularly good achievement in that role, you should include it and use a STAR method to present it. So don't forget that student placements and internships all do count. So be sure to include those as work experience because they are. Make sure that, as with the summary, you've done a little bit of research of the roles or the industry that you want to work in and highlight the common skills that you have that is relevant to the job that you want. So, for an example, you might state that you did a year-long placement at Acme Logistics. You could list the placement improved your skills in something like change management, process improvement, data analysis, project design, or whatever it was that your project did. So you might mention it saying, I was tasked with improving efficiency and decreasing costs. I identified that the delivery note process was really manual and creating large time and resource consumption. So I researched and implemented a paperless system of delivery notes that allowed for electronic proof of delivery to be used, which reduced processing time by, I don't know, 67%, and then decreasing costs by approximately £23,000 a year. I've no idea. I'm making that up off the top of my head. So placements will have some level of interacting with different departments as well. And you will likely have been working on projects that the day-to-day team can't be pulled away from the operation to complete. So you will have things like stakeholder management, communication across departments, communications across all levels. There will be something that you can pull from placements and any work experience that you can use, and you should highlight those in bullet point form or using the STAR method on your work experience section. So volunteering work also counts towards highlighting your skills and abilities. If you've said anywhere on your LinkedIn profile that you have particular skills or abilities, or that you've developed any particular skills, then you can also highlight that on your volunteering section. So, for example, if you speak at a Novus event, and I know some of you do, and keep speaking at Novus events does count as volunteering. So if you come along and you do a speech about what brilliant program Novus is and your own experience of Novus, then you have experience of public speaking. And that is a skill that employers most definitely look for. So put in a volunteering role, Novus program, student, peer speaker, or whatever it is, peer volunteer, whatever title you want to give it. And then in there, just say that you speak at these events and it's improved your experience of public speaking. That way, if anybody is looking for somebody with experience of public speaking, it will also show up when they search that you've got that on your profile. Most volunteer roles will have some level of skill or experience that could be used in the world of work. So even if it was something like at the weekend you coach an under 12s football team, for example, then you're going to have experience of communicating at all levels because you will speak to possibly the FA, definitely the officials on the day, so the referee and the lines people, the parents you might communicate with. You might communicate with, say, a coach driver or whatever to get that coach, the team to the match. You would speak to the opposition coach. You would obviously speak to all the players. So then you've got communication skills across the full board there. So you could put in there that you have developed your communication skills, you've developed your stakeholder management across multiple stakeholders, which you have, and across all levels, of course. You've also got experience of coaching people to achieve their best, for example. And then other things that might not be as obvious is, like I've said, with arranging a coach to get the full team there, you've got kind of almost some kind of project management, events management type experience as well. So just have a really good think about the volunteer work you do and what skills or experience you use in that job. Not only does the volunteer work demonstrate your, or rather evidence your skills and experience, It shows commitment and it demonstrates your values. If you're the sort of person that will get out of bed on a cold Saturday morning to go and help out a charity or a community group or some other organisation when you're not getting paid to and you don't have to, there is literally nothing in the world that says you have to do that. You're doing it because it's something that you want to do. It demonstrates that you've got that value of looking after people and caring about your community, and you've got the commitment to go and do a good job for the sake of doing a good job. You're not getting paid for it. You're going to do it because you want to help, you can help, you've got the skills and experience that you can give to this organisation, and you're going to go and give it to them, whether you're getting paid or not, because your value is to help where you can help, and your commitment is to these kinds of organisations. Now, the good thing with that is also that customers and companies are demanding corporate and social responsibility these days. So customers went through a period, particularly with the increase of the internet, of seeing some businesses that weren't acting as they should have been acting. And from that have started to demand from the companies that they use a level of transparency about what they do in regards to communities and what they do to ensure that they are acting ethically. And one way that businesses do that is to show that they are working with the community or working with charities or doing some other level of corporate and social responsibility. So they're saying, yes, we've built a factory on the green land, but we also have been into that community and taught the people in the schools about XYZ. So we're improving the skills and experience of the people in that community, for example. So if you're going out and volunteering, then that shows any of these companies that do that kind of work that you're a good fit for their business because your values match with their values. So, as I say, make sure you include some volunteering if you do some volunteering. And speaking at Novus events counts. So make sure you include that too. Skills section on LinkedIn is a specific section of its own, and it is basically just a list. So it will allow you to add up to 50, but again, you need to highlight the ones that are most relevant to the jobs you want. So don't just get carried away. That said, you do need to include at least 5 to make your profile more searchable. So include industry skills. So do exactly what I've been saying all the way through this presentation in researching the industry, researching the jobs that you want, and making sure that you tailor your profile to those roles, but then also look at transferable skills. So if you want to be a manager, look at all different management jobs as well, so that you can get those transferable skills, which are things like good communication, good stakeholder management, project management, those kinds of things that will go across all industries. But do try to link it to your desired job as well, so that you've got the industry skills that they'll be looking for, but also those transferable or soft skills that they'll be looking for. So education is again similar to with your CV. So there will be bits that you can copy and paste from that. But there are some extra tips to bear in mind. Be clear on what your qualifications actually are. So if you studied supply chain management, then don't just say Acme University studied supply chain. Say BSc supply chain management or whatever your actual qualification is. Make sure you say what you've learnt. It wasn't until the late 90s and early 2000s that supply chain degrees became more widely offered at universities. So there'll be a lot of people in business who did a general management degree or something more general subject like English. So they won't necessarily know what's included in supply chain management degrees. So just point it out for them and say something like Acme University, BSc Supply Chain Management. For this qualifications module included procurement, project management and sustainability, or whatever it was, just to give people an idea of what that course entailed and what you learned from it. As I've said on previous pages, make sure anything relevant to the jobs roles you want are included and any achievements are highlighted. So there's some students that have previously highlighted where project proposals they created in their degrees were then implemented by the companies, or something that they used on a placement was then given an award, for example. So make sure anything like that that shows you at your best is included on your education, even if it was something you did part of your degree and you think that it's not necessarily relevant to work. Get it in there. These next couple of pages are just some extras that you can include if you want to. So first there's a featured section, which is where you can add relevant documents or website links or industry pieces that you've written if you want. You'll need to be careful of privacy though. So if you've done something for a specific company that's got sensitive information in it, you either need to redact that or not include it. For example, if you worked for, I don't know, Acme Industries, and you suddenly looked on LinkedIn and found that a student had posted a lot of your financial information that isn't out there in the public, or some details of your employees, for example, then you wouldn't be very happy. So just make sure that anything that's sensitive information is redacted before you upload it. But here's how you put an extra section in. So you'll see under your name, there is an add profile section. And in there is a section called featured. So you just select that so that we can get that active. Then you press the cross in the top corner of that featured section, and that will come up with the menu that you can see there on the bottom right. So you can add a post, you can add an article, you can add a link, or you can add media. Now, in the last slide, I said about achievements that you've had at university. So if you won an award and there is an article or a website post from your university that shows you collecting that award or mentions what it is you've done, or if, for example, you've been student of the year or whatever, then this is the section where you can put that. So you would click plus, click add a link, and put a link to that website that backs up those achievements that you say you've got. Now, you haven't got to do this. As I say, it's just an extra thing for you to do. You can see there I've got my CV on mine, which is fully downloadable for anybody to have a look at. And I've also got my Insights profile. Now, an Insights profile is a management thing where they analyze your management style. So I've put mine on there so that people can have a look at it and see how I would fit in with their business. So as you can see, I'm just using it as a way to enhance my sellability and say, look, this is how I would fit into your business. Have a look at this. So anything, basically anything you can show off about, get it on your featured. If there's an article you've written that was particularly good, if there was a project proposal that you did that was particularly good, if there's anything where you've been honoured or awarded or given a special mention by a university, get it on there, because this is your chance to show off. So finally, be active and network. This is a really important one, but it does get missed. So what people tend to do is set up a LinkedIn profile and then they do nothing with it for months and months and months, and they just let it go. And there'll be people that you look up who are very senior in businesses who have last posted on LinkedIn a year ago or whatever, and they're just not using it. And it's no good having a really brilliant profile if nobody's seeing it because you're not using it. So make sure that you network. Networking is fairly easy to do, to be honest. If you go to an industry event and you're talking to somebody who's in the same similar job role to you or similar company to you, add them on LinkedIn. If you go to an industry event and there's a particularly good speaker who's talking about, I don't know, cybersecurity or sustainability or procurement or whatever it is they're talking about, health and safety, you can guarantee that on their LinkedIn profile, they're sharing relevant information about exactly the same things that they're speaking about. So add them on LinkedIn, because then they'll give you information about the industry that you're working in without you having to go and search for it. If you're on a placement, then add all your colleagues from your placement, because obviously then they're going to help share information with you about what interests them, which will help with rapport building, and also anything relevant with the company that you might have missed somewhere along the line. Not all information is available to all people, or given to all people when you're working. So if you're following people on LinkedIn and they're sharing information, then you're getting it right to your inbox whenever you look at LinkedIn. Also, make sure you follow any companies that you're interested in. So if there's a particular company that you want to work for, make sure you are following them on LinkedIn and you're keeping up to date with the sorts of things that that company do and the sorts of things that that company are interested in. It will help tell you their values and their strategy, and that will help you decide whether your values and your own personal strategy fits in with what they're looking for. Also, make sure that you follow their competitors. And the reason I say that is not spying on the enemy, it's not that sort of thing. It is making sure that you know and you understand how the companies that you're interested in differ from their competitors, but also it gives you an idea of whether the company that you're interested in is unique in a particular area or whether that's an industry standard. So, for example, if the company that you're interested in gives people volunteer days and then you're following 4 of their competitors who don't show anything about volunteering or don't do anything towards charity or don't do anything towards sustainability, or at least they don't share it on there, then you can see that the company that you're interested in is interested in sustainability and CSR and looking after their people. And if that aligns better with your objectives and aligns better with your own values, then you know that the company you're interested in would be a better fit for you than their competitors. Likewise, it might be that you see that you're interested in a company and they share something where their values or their practices don't seem to quite fit with what you're looking for. And so then you'll get a better feel for the company that you're interested in if you follow both them and their competitors, because you can see those differences and those similarities. Also follow industry groups. So every industry will have some form of industry group, and most of the kind of job roles will have an industry group. So CILT, Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, then get following them on there. Even if you're not a member, I would question why you're not a member. But if you're not a member, then at least follow their pages so you can keep up to date with everything that's happening in logistics and transport. Novus, obviously keep an eye on us because every now and then we will share relevant information, not just about job roles, but about the industry in general. So keep an eye on our pages. There's other ones you can follow, like the one I've noted there is SIPS. That's a procurement one, procurement and supply chain. For project manager, there is APM. For management, there is ILM, which is the Institute of Management. For accounting, there's ATT. So any industry bodies, just look up the industry groups, industry bodies, and make sure you follow all of those on LinkedIn, because as I've said, they will be sharing information that will be relevant to you or the industry that you work on, and maybe relevant to the job that you do. And they will just give you information free of charge. Absolutely. As soon as you log in, it'll be there on your newsfeed if you're following their groups, because they will just share things like that because that's what they do. Make sure you join any forums that are relevant to your interests. So if you are somebody that is particularly interested in sustainability, then make sure you follow the Forum for Sustainability. If you are somebody who's interested in health and safety, follow the Health and Safety Forum. If you're interested in IT, follow the IT forums. There'll be loads of forums on there for anything that you're interested in. Follow the forums, because there's usually discussions going on in there. So, for example, if there's a new piece of kit coming out, electric vehicles tends to be a big one that gets discussed. Electric vehicles, for example, people will all be discussing it, and you'll see the positives, the negatives, the experiences that people are having with those things. And as I say, people share this information absolutely freely, so you can then get a better feel for what's going on in the industry and get some better knowledge and experience to build your own opinions on. You will have done in your degree some form of research, and like I say, this is a good place to get free research without actually looking for it. join alumni groups. So your university will probably have an alumni page. Well, your university will definitely have a page on there, but they may have an alumni group as well. So I don't know how specific they go, but certainly join your alumni group so that you can keep in touch with other people that are studying similar or the same things as you. But also there'll be the people that either are in or have been in the same position that you're in, of getting out in the world of work, and they will probably be able to talk you through a few things that are relevant to that transitional period of going from working at university to working at work, which can be different even if you are on a graduate scheme. So it just helps you keep up to date with people that have been in the same position as you and can give you some tips for that. Make sure you share any relevant articles and share your contacts posts. So as I say, if you add somebody at an event and then they share a post that's really important about, I don't know, data-driven logistics, for example, then make sure that you share that as well, because it shows people that you are taking an active interest in them. It shows that you're taking an active interest in the industry, and it shows people that you are picking up knowledge and you're not just idly sitting around on LinkedIn waiting for somebody to notice you. Finally, if you have any questions or queries, please feel free to contact me, michelle.warner@ciltuk.org.uk, or us generally, which is novus@ciltuk.org.uk, and we will help you with any questions or queries, not just about LinkedIn. Any questions or queries that you have, give us an email. If I don't know the answer, if Zara doesn't know the answer, we will definitely know people that do know the answer. So contact us anytime with anything that you need help with. Thank you. Bye bye.